Okay, so let's take a look at the next dimension of my Big 5 results, which is extroversion. I scored on this very high in the 94th percentile, which actually surprised me, but doesn't exactly. But it's really interesting because ENFPs, it said that we are the one extroverted type who is actually pretty good alone. And that's very true of me. I can go out and spend my day, like go for a bike ride, walk through a city alone, and I love it. I'm just with my thoughts, that kind of thing. So it's interesting. People with high levels of extroversion are very enthusiastic, talkative, and assertive in social situations. They are highly energized by social contact and crave it. They find pleasure in planning parties, telling jokes, making people laugh, and taking part in community activities. They typically have positive memories of the past, high levels of current self-esteem, particularly if they are low in neuroticism, and experience far above average optimism about the future. So this is what's interesting with the deeper definition of extroversion here, right? It's a lot more than just do you like people, because it shapes your self-esteem, it shapes your outlook on the future, and even obviously like how you look at memories of the past. And so maybe if you're very low in extroversion, then you have more negative memories of the past, and you're less enthusiastic about taking action, trying new things, etc. And this, I think, is a great example of how we adapt. So living in the Czech Republic, I am not nearly as bubbly, etc. I host a party there at least once every year, like a big party. I love telling jokes. I love making people laugh and bringing everyone together. So even if on the surface, I'm maybe not quite as bubbly and outgoing as it does describe here in some ways. People high in extroversion make enthusiastic employees, are very well suited to jobs involving sales, persuasion, working in groups, and public speaking. They are not well suited to occupations that require a lot of isolated work. And that's actually been the case where I've been hiring in the past and looked at someone who was quite extroverted and would be a really good fit. What I mean by a good fit is they'd be very talented, they'd fit with the company culture, and they'd be, I think, hardworking, smart, etc. But we are a remote company, right? Everyone lives in different places. And so someone who's quite extroverted, it's not the ideal job yet. Maybe in 6 months or a year as our team grows and the virus goes away and we can do in-person meetings more often and things like that. But right now wouldn't be good. So a huge part of knowing your results is to design your life. I talk about this all the time about your type. So if you are really extroverted and you want to work for yourself, like this has been my biggest struggle. It's why I stopped being a copywriter essentially. I was earning $100, $150 an hour. I could work anywhere, live anywhere. It was like really the dream. I was like getting up, going to a cafe, working a few hours a day, and earning more than enough to travel Europe and stuff like that. But it was a lot of alone work, and combine that with traveling and not having that many local friends and things like that. It was the winter at the time. I decided to really like complete the shift. I wanted to do something involving more people and more human contact. So something to think about. Extroversion has two subcategories: enthusiasm and assertiveness. So I am high in both. I'm 89th percentile in enthusiasm, 92nd in assertiveness. So enthusiastic are people who talk rapidly, they laugh, giggle, they can't keep people at a distance. I'm not huge on giggling, but hey, they warm up to people, they love stimulation, excitement, fun, etc. People loving, encouraging, etc. Assertiveness is people who are take charge types. They put their opinions forward, uncommonly strong, and tend to dominate and control social situations. Yeah, that's pretty true for me as well, for sure. They can be impulsive, in consequence, can act without thinking. So that's something you wouldn't, if you're just exposed to the MBTI, the ENFP personality, you wouldn't think about this as being related to extroversion, right? That impulsiveness, that taking action, that being more of a leader, or associated with the leadership characteristics, actually being assertive is tied in with extroversion, but it definitely is. All right, the next dimension we're going to look at is neuroticism, and it is essentially our association with negative emotions. Not our association, but the measure of negative emotions and how sensitive we are to them. So for neuroticism, I am in this 36th percentile, meaning I'm lower than 63 of 100 people. And that strikes me about accurate, truthfully, when I went through this. Sometimes I will feel negative emotions, of course. And then you think, well, I can't be low in neuroticism, I have negative emotions. No, compared to other people, you don't really experience that many negative emotions. And that's the thing. We all experience some aspects of this. So sometimes we can react to our results and just be blind to the reality of how other people experience life. And that can actually be a great learning from this is if you score very low in neuroticism and then you're like, no, I must be high. Like I struggle, I have these negative thoughts sometimes. Well, imagine what it's like for people high in neuroticism, right? Like think about that. And it really gives you some insight into the full spectrum of the human experience. So neuroticism is broken into two areas. One is withdrawal, and I am very low in that. I'm in the 8th percentile. So people who are low in withdrawal never suffer from or are impeded by anticipatory anxiety. Basically being worried about what could happen. Pretty accurate. They can handle new, uncertain, unexpected, or threatening or complex situations very well. They are far less likely to avoid or withdraw in the face of unknown and unexpected. Totally true. The only exception to this that I thought of is when I was bullied in high school and I'd like walk home an extra kilometer to avoid maybe running into some asshole kids. And definitely I was very avoidant in that aspect. I should have just punched one of the kids in the face. I wasn't that small, and then it probably would have resolved the whole thing. That aspect, like with really crappy human beings, that aspect of avoidance is probably somewhat high for me, or withdrawal. But in terms of other life situations, I am very low of jumping into the unknown. Anything involving, pretty much anything. I'm pretty good with that. And then volatility, I am moderately high. Well, people who are high in volatility tend to vary somewhat in their mood. They can be more irritable than your typical person, feeling disappointment, frustration, pain, and social isolation somewhat more easily. They are somewhat more likely to act out verbally and express their frustration, disappointment, or irritability. So what's interesting with this is completely true, by the way. I was worse as a child, and if you haven't seen the YouTube video on neuroticism, the public one on this, I share that this is really, what's really helped me is, actually it might be the video for ENFP-Ts, but either way, I share that what's helped me is definitely diet and exercise. Like I'm a lot less volatile now than I would have been like as a kid and even probably a few years ago, for sure. What's interesting is you would think people who are high in volatility would be higher in withdrawal as well. Because if volatility means you're basically sensitive to the pain, to rejection, to frustration, to disappointment. So you'd think that the more sensitive you were to it, the more that you would avoid new situations. Like they probably are correlated, I would think. So that's interesting. I think part of withdrawal being so low for me as well is I have done a lot of new things. I jump into new things a lot as well. And so get used to it. And then you're like, oh, that's not so bad. That's not so bad. And then your withdrawal dimension gets better. You know, one thing I'll mention here, this videos are really, well, supposed to be mostly about my results, but it's mentioned here that the mean percentile for women in the general population is 60, and for men it's 40, meaning, and this is on withdrawal, meaning men are much lower on withdrawal. Like that's a pretty big spread on average, right? And this is something to really be aware of. I've talked to a lot of women in business about this, about how their perception, and they kind of regard it as true, and I think it probably is, based on this especially, is that if they're in a meeting and there's a project, like, hey, who wants to take on this new project? The men are much more likely to say, I'll do it, and they don't have a clue how to do it. And the women are more like, I only want to do it if I know for sure I can handle it. And of course, I presume at this point you understand basic math, that these are averages, etc. I don't have to give that whole disclaimer. But this is a big difference, and it probably plays a role in corporate success and other things, right? So high on withdrawal, know that you will basically wait too long before you jump into new things. And so you might want to just kind of coach yourself on that and say like, I don't feel ready, but that probably means I should still do it, right? Because you're aware now that you are much less likely than other people to jump into unknown situations, and that will hold you back in life 100%. I don't see a huge upside to being high in withdrawal. You know, it would protect you, like if we're sitting around a campfire and there's a noise in the bush and I'm like, I'll go see, and then a bear eats me. Like, yes, having low withdrawal would be bad. And jumping into things like when I was younger, and I wasn't actually too bad at this. I never got into like multi-level marketing, let's say, but if you're low in withdrawal, you kind of jump into things. So in terms of getting recruited by like cults or multi-level marketing, kind of the same thing. or whatever else, it can happen a lot easier. So that would be like if you're very low in withdrawal and you're younger and not as wise. Like I was dumb and naive for a good part of my younger 20s. I'm like, oh, that all sounds really good. I even once became a stolen laptop dealer without knowing that that is what I was becoming. I really believe the guy selling me the laptops, that they were like locked in his basement and he tripped on the lock and that's why the laptop lock was broken. Yeah, so over time, if you can gain a great sense of, I'll say, wisdom through experience, basically get better at making good decisions, have good judgment, then having low withdrawal, I think, is really good. It allows you to fire up quickly. But in your younger years, you may actually want to talk to a friend or family member who has higher withdrawal and be like, hey, could you give me a second opinion on this? Like, is this crazy? Does this make sense? Probably being extremely low in withdrawal isn't ideal. It can get you in some trouble, and being extremely high, or I think even moderately high, probably doesn't help too much. Volatility, not much to say there, just being very emotional. I'm a drama queen, what can I say? Definitely mental discipline, building your exercise routines, better diet, things like that. If you're curious, it says here the mean percentiles for women for volatility is 57 and men is 42. I'm not saying there's anything, these are all fun topics to talk about in 2020, aren't they? I mean, that's a pretty historical stereotype. Women are more emotional, moods change more. Of course, that's not true, and all humans are equal, and biology doesn't exist, whatever. So we've got two now. It's broken into intellect and openness. It's weird because the category is openness to experience, and then one of the subcategories is just openness. So, okay, intellect. High. Wow. Do not confuse the personality aspect of intellect with IQ. Intellect is a measure of interest in abstract ideas, essentially, while IQ is a measure of processing speed, verbal ability, working memory, and problem-solving capacity, and is better measured with a formal IQ test. It is possible to have a high IQ and low score in the personality trait of intellect or vice versa. I'm in the 82nd percentile of intellect. That makes sense because I'm going to be lower in openness, because openness is more about art and appreciation of beauty, which I'm not quite as much. So intellect is about interest in ideas and abstract concepts. You enjoy novel information, which even when it's complex, you're more curious. You want to discuss idea-centered books, most frequently nonfiction. You are articulate and can formulate ideas clearly and quickly, particularly if higher in extraversion. Well, look at me there. All right. It's almost like I should have a YouTube channel where I can formulate ideas and express them to people. That would be amazing. You have a wide vocabulary. I have a terrible vocabulary, but that's due to speech issue I had as a kid and things like that. I forgive them for not knowing that intricate detail of my life. People high in intellect find complex, rapidly changing occupations to their liking and do well in them. However, they are substantially less well suited for stable, straightforward, and more traditional occupations where the rules don't change and will experience frequent periods of boredom and frustration. All right, and then openness is the second. So I'm average in openness. I am in the 51st percentile. The closest synonym for openness, rather than openness to experience, is creativity. People who are averaged in openness or creativity find beauty reasonably important. They may enjoy an outlet for their creative abilities, but they will not wither away without it. That's very true. Like Gabby is going to be very high in openness. She hasn't done this test yet, but like if she doesn't paint, she just like withers away. Like really, she needs to do it. It's like her therapy. And I like to, let's say, write, but I don't wither away without it. So they can appreciate art and beautiful crafts. They are somewhat sensitive to color and architectural form. They find, yeah, this is pretty accurate for me. Like I appreciate, I mean, like this house we're in is beautiful and I find I'm happier here. I feel just more alive and I love being in it. Would I have the ability to design it? Probably not at all, you know, so I get how I'd fall in that middle. They sometimes enjoy collecting, but it is rare for them to pursue it passionately. They are reasonably imaginative. They may be somewhat musical or artistic themselves. So that is my results from the 10 aspect Big 5 personality scale. Hope you found it interesting. If I can leave you with one tip, and I say one tip, but based on my extroversion and openness to experience, I might just talk for the next 45 minutes now and share 30 tips. It's really unpredictable here. When you're looking at results, it's all about figuring out how to design your life around your personality and make it awesome, right? This is, what's my catchphrase on the channel? How to become the best version of yourself while creating the most awesome life possible for you and those you love, right? And you do that by learning about yourself, accepting yourself, figuring out, okay, this is how I am. Where can I get better, like reasonably? Like for me to say, okay, I want to learn to be able to sit quietly and work all day for a week straight. Like, no, I'm a 92nd percent on extroversion. That's not going to happen, right? So you got to be really honest about who you are and then be the best version of that self, right? So someone who's really high on extroversion, you're way better investing your time at getting even better at public speaking, at presenting, at talking to people, at whatever else, than you are trying to get really good at sitting there quietly, right? I know that would make Miss Lamb really happy if I just sat there and did my work, but it is not going to happen. So be honest with yourself about who you are. Focus on becoming the best version of that and just improving in the areas where you have a lot of room for growth. Spend your time in those strength areas. That's where you're going to make the most money, right? Doing the things that you're really good at. You're never going to make a lot of money trying to do the things you're not very good at, but you're going to improve your weaknesses. Like, it's stupid. Sorry if you've done that. I've done it. It's stupid. And then be really proactive about the type of work you take on or the type of business you start to match with your personality. And I've had a bit of a change on this recently where for a while, I work as a coach with a lot of ENFPs. Some of you are probably in my ENFP Unleashed program or have worked with me one-on-one or in my free freelancer program. And there's a while, like people would ask me, they'd say, hey, I'm an ENFP and I have trouble at my work, right? Because I don't like paperwork and I don't like following stupid rules, but the boss says I have to do it this way. And for a couple of years, I would always try to help. Okay, well, what if you use this strategy to make the paperwork more fun? You did it this way. And to meet this need, you did this differently. And basically trying to like change yourself a little bit to fit in this environment. And part of that is like, who am I to tell people like, go quit your job? You know, I don't know the economics of your country necessarily. I don't know your ability to get another job. I don't know what your financial resources necessarily are. And so I, give these tips of like how you can maybe make it work. And more I'm coming around to just like quit your freaking job if it doesn't work, right? And the thing is a good, so let me say it another way. We had a group coaching call the other night and someone was asking about these sorts of things and they work at a large company. And I just said, like, don't work at a large company. If you love a lot of change and variety and you want to move up quickly and always be learning new things, don't work at a big company. You're never going to get that. You're just being stupid. Like, I'm sorry, it's the truth. If you want to learn a ton of things, like if you are a copywriter, go find a 10-person company and be their only copywriter. And you will get to very quickly call yourself like director of marketing or director of communications. You will get to learn a ton of new things. You will constantly be challenged. If you want to work at that cool startup with 8,000 people, it's not even a startup, whatever, and you're just like some rung on the ladder, you're going to be bored. You're going to have to do the grunt work. You're not going to get much enjoyment out of it. That's just how it is. And so I say this because it's really important. If where you work does not allow you to adjust how you do your job to match your personality strengths, then you should not work there. Because it's just, there's nothing I can do for you, right? I can say, here's what you're really good at. And you're like, well, my boss says I should still do paperwork for 6 hours a day. Like, what am I supposed to do here? Like, I can call up your boss if you want. My hourly rate is fairly high for calling up people's bosses and yelling at them. But, there's not a lot we can do with that, right? And so it's one reason. I hate to be the guy who's always pushing entrepreneurship. I don't hate to be it, actually, I love it. But it's one of the reasons I do, because when you do your own business, one is it's so well suited for people who want to be learning new things, be challenged all the time, be growing. Because I haven't been bored in, 8 years. I don't get bored, it just doesn't happen. There's always something new to do. My days off, I have to force myself to take the day off. Like Sundays, I'm just like, no, nothing gets turned on, no electronics, and I, go do something fun. So you don't get bored, you're always learning, you're always challenged, and you can design your work exactly around yourself and what you do well and what you don't. And lots of jobs that is possible for as well, but a lot of jobs it isn't. And so just keep an open mind that you might have to make a big change. If you're noticing all these differences in yourself, you know what you're really good at, you try to talk to your boss about it. Like, first thing is try to have a conversation with your employer and express it in a way like, hey, I am spending a lot of time learning about myself, trying to develop. I think I could bring a lot of value to the company this way. So don't say like, I hate paperwork. Say, if you let me do this more, I can make you way more money. And I will be able to bring a lot more value and I will make you look good, etc. If that doesn't work, if they're like, no, here are the rules, here's how it works, you know what you have to do eventually, or now. You have to leave that job. It's not going to work for you. We'd just be band-aiding the problem, and that's no good. If you've made it this far, my hunch is you're really enjoying learning about yourself, being an ENFP, and all the awesome things we are capable of. Now, I just have one question. Do you also know how to read? Because if you do, and only if you do, you should check out this free email-based training that I've recently created. If you go to dreamsaroundtheworld.com/ENFP training, you can check that out there. It's uplifting, it's inspiring, and it will provide you with a ton of insights into how to create an awesome life as an ENFP. See you soon.